We've got our solar eclipse in Virgo this week. It's our annular solar eclipse. We've got some shifts in our sky with the sun, Mercury, and Venus. And so we're going to talk about all of that and more in this week's Sidereal Astrology. Hey, my friend Danny Simuni's here, spiritual counselor and intuitive astrologer, helping you navigate your inner guidance system so that you can fulfill your soul's mission. All right, my friend, we've got lots to talk about with our solar eclipse coming up on Wednesday, October 2nd, and plus all the other things that are always going on in our sky. So let's dive in. So I want to kick off this with our State of the Union. If you are new here, welcome. We're so glad you found us. Couple things to keep in mind here is we've got this on the YouTube channel, Keeping It Real with Sidereal, and we've also got this on a podcast. So if you are watching this on the YouTube channel and you just want to listen to this, head on over to the podcast. Plus, there is so much more over there on the podcast because we've got guest interviews and other topics that I like to talk about that I don't put here on YouTube. And if you're on the podcast and you want to see all these charts and visuals, then head on over to the YouTube channel. And on the YouTube channel, I've got tons of content on the YouTube channel as well, from meditations, hypnosis recordings. Now we have our Magic Monday on there with our somatic breath work. So there's lots of things to find on whatever platform fits you. All right, so let's do our State of the Union. And that's just where is everybody as we kick off this week. All right, we've got our sun at 13 degrees. Virgo. So we are still here in Virgo, as you can see. We also have this conjunction, which we've talked about last week with Mercury. So we've got Mercury conjunct. So this is very strong right here, right now. We've also got our South Node conjunct these two. We've got our moon is currently kicking off this week in Leo. It's going to move into Virgo as it prepares for our new moon solar eclipse in Virgo. Mars is still hanging out in Gemini. We've got Jupiter here in Taurus. Now, keep in mind, Jupiter is going to be going retrograde very soon. So we'll be talking more about that in the October overview. We've also got Uranus here retrograde in Taurus, Chiron retrograde in Pisces. We've got our North Node and Neptune in Pisces. Neptune is retrograde, Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, and Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. And finally, over here, we have our Venus in Libra. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the sun. Let's talk about a couple of things that we have going on here. Number one, I want to talk about that kicks off tomorrow, and that is our sun square Mars. So whenever we're talking about the sun, we are talking about consciousness, our conscious thinking. And whenever we're talking about Mars, we're talking more of that warrior spirit, that motivation, that drive, that competitiveness. So, with the square of the two, which can tend to be a little bit of a battle, not as quite as an opposition would be, but a square, there's definitely some conflict here. So, there may be some asserting of power, some ego conflicts that can happen here, a tendency to react aggressively, recklessness, impulsiveness. And think about this, this is in our consciousness. So we might be acting upon some of the conscious thoughts that we're having that are a little bit more impulsive of a behavior. So I would say it's more of a challenging type energy, like I'm wanting to challenge things, I'm wanting to push forward with my agenda or what I believe. And so there's a little bit of like some anger, resentment, some negative negative frequencies, let's just say, some frustration, constriction. So I would say there could be some conflicts. There could be some accidents. There could be some aggression either from others, or maybe you have, been dealing with a lot and you may not have had the space to express. If that is the case, I'm going to invite you to come over to Magic Monday because we get an opportunity to express there. And we've got the 22-day breathwork challenge, our somatic breathwork challenge, that I really am finding are these mini healings that are absolutely beautiful. And they all offer an opportunity to express, to make space. So if you're finding yourself getting a little frustrated really easily, or there's just some animosity that you might be feeling, there is a need to express. That's a clear sign that there is too much, that your battery is full and you can't take any more. And so we need to make some room. We need to express. And so somatic breath work is one of my favorites, but there are tons of other ways that you can do that. You can do that through healing sessions. You can also do that through, for some of you, some physical activity, especially more of my fire signs. You probably are going to want to physically express this in some way. So sports are also really good, or exercise that is more physical, even if it is like yoga or something that is still a physical release that you can leave on the mat. Sometimes working alone is good during this challenge because we're not allowing ourselves to get caught up in some of this frustration or conflict that may be happening. But I also want you to keep in mind, if there has something that has been kind of been back on the burner, has been building up, it's coming through here. And so this transit in particular is going to run most of this month. So all the way through the 24th of October. So if there is anything that is coming up for you, my friend, I'm going to invite you to go take a walk, to do some breathing, to write it out in a journal, to talk it out into your phone, to express the energy in some way, shape, or form. I've got tons of opportunities for you to do that this month, as well as I'm just going to lead it back to our 20-day somatic breathwork challenge. Best way to express. Okay. Now, let's talk about the moon, because we have a lot going on with our moon this week, because we do have that solar eclipse new moon happening right here on the 2nd of October. So on Wednesday. So let's talk a little bit about, first off, this is a new moon, and this is our annular solar eclipse. So what I mean is, every year we have a solar eclipse. Every single year we have a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. Eclipses always come in pairs. So keep that in mind. A lunar eclipse is on a full moon. Solar eclipse is on a new moon. And so some of the themes that we are seeing here with this particular solar eclipse is, because it is in Virgo, there is more analytical energy here, more practical energy, definitely more detail oriented. And it is making, as we can see, actually, it's not on here. Let me move it to the exact time so I can get you the right, because we're missing our square over here to Mars. So let me pull this up. Happening right here. There you go. We've got 1:48 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday the 2nd. Okay, let's go back. So we've got a square over here to Mars, which is that frustration energy we just talked about. It's also a drive to take some action. Even though it can be a little impulsive, there is a drive, right? There's that conflict energy that's coming in. There's also, from a more positive standpoint, the energy to tackle some of the more challenging things, challenging tasks, challenging projects, something that's been kind of it's a little bit harder. The energy here is great for this. We also have this opposition over here to the nodes, which is our north node down here. And we've got the conjunction with our south node. Now, our south node is what is comfortable. It's our past. It's what we're bringing in with us into this lifetime, the North Node is where we're headed. It's where we want to go. And so there is this need to balance the familiar routine with new direction, new ways of doing things, new ideas. And so there could be this potential or this resistance that is being created to change or growth. In this week's Magic Monday, we're focusing on expansion and expanding our energy. And it was really interesting because that's what the guardians of the Akashic Records, if you didn't know, I am an Akashic Records practitioner and I use the Akashic Records in everything that I do, including these forecasts here. And so, one of the things that came up in that Magic Monday breath work was this idea of expansion. And this is because there could be that potential of resistance to change. We wanted to fill into the energy of expansion and what that is for us right now, because the North Node, in heading in our soul's purpose, right, in heading to that evolution for ourselves, it is going to cause us to need to expand. It's going to cause the movement, right, of our comfort zone, of what has worked for us, and to push it out just a little bit more. So this is an opportunity with any solar eclipse, any eclipse in general, for moving through things. And I want to say a couple of different things with solar eclipses and just eclipses in general, because I think people can sometimes get confused. Eclipses are not necessarily the time to manifest, although I want to explain how I kind of see this because I see it a little bit differently than most people. For me, eclipses feel like portals. They feel like these openings. And sometimes there's these openings into these portals, into these um, realms, let's say, that we no longer need access to, or we no longer are connected to, and or we no longer want to be connected to. And from a soul perspective, because we are having a human experience, right, this might sound a little bit weird, but because we're able to access different things in different timelines and different ways, our soul could be connected to these portals in different ways. And so an eclipse is an opportunity for that particular portal to open. And the way I like to look at it as letting go these portals, but also sending with it anything that I don't want to have access to anymore. Now, using ecology here, I don't want to get rid of everything, right? You know, everything has a purpose. I would love to sit here and say, I don't want to, I want to be fearless. Well, yes, fearless is a great place to be. And also, fear is here for a reason. Fear is here to alert us of something. So I would never want to get rid of fear. We also live in a world or a universe that runs with the law of polarity, where we have the two of everything. So if I got rid of fear, I would also get rid of the opposite of fear. So I definitely don't want to do that, right? So there are certain aspects maybe of fear that I want to release into these portals. And so that is what the eclipse is an opportunity to do. So it's not necessarily here's what I want to manifest and here's what I want to jump into. It's more of an opportunity to say, here's what I no longer want access to. Here's what I'm no longer connected to. And I'm going to send it with this eclipse, shut it down so that I no longer have access to it because it is not part of where I am going or where I am headed. So I would say now would be a really good time to take a look at some of the things in the areas of your life, especially around organization, systems and structures, routines, things that are on the day to day habits, things around your motivation and your drive. Think about how you're viewing the different broader life areas of self, of others, of the work you do, your abundance or your financial wealth, looking at those aspects of yourself, of your life, and saying, where are there things within this that I'm ready to kind of to say no to say goodbye to, right? They've served their purpose up until this point, and now it's time to say goodbye because we are headed in a new direction. And so I am really excited for this particular solar eclipse or eclipses, because it's allowed me to take a look at my own rituals and routines and the things that I'm doing and saying, yeah, these things no longer fit, or these things no longer work for me. And here are the things that I actually want to replace that with. So keep that in mind, that anytime you are releasing something, you want to bring something in to replace that. We don't just want to leave it open. We actually want to be intentional with what it is that we're bringing back in. So as you're setting your intentions for this particular new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, you can think of that intention around what is it that you are calling back, or what is it that you are calling as you move forward with. Okay, let's continue on a little bit more about our where our moon's going to be this week, so we can follow our moon. As you know, the moon is our emotional energy, and so we want to know where the moon is going to be because that's going to tell us how our emotions may be fluctuating over this next week. So we kick off, as I said, in Leo, and then we move into Virgo on Tuesday and Wednesday. We are in Virgo, and even into Thursday. So from Tuesday to Thursday, we will be in that energy of Virgo, which is our earth sign. We're also, if you think about it, right, we have 3 days before, 3 days after in that new moon solar eclipse energy. So we've got good period here most of our week where we will be in this energy. So if things are coming up and there's things that you want to collapse, or things that you don't want access to anymore, or things that you're ready to like send off with the eclipse, at least that's how I view it. I view it as a sending off. Definitely this week, do that. And then finally on Friday, we move out of Virgo and into Libra, and we will be there Friday and Saturday before moving into Scorpio on Sunday. So that's where our moon will be this week. All right, let's take a look now at Mars. Where is Mars going to be this a week? So as you can see, I was looking, if you can see here, it says 1996. I was looking at some past dates. And so let me share with you some of the dates that I was looking at, because eclipses generally run, as I said, in pairs. We often have, every year we have a annular solar eclipse. And one of the really interesting things here is that the last solar eclipse in Virgo was last year on October 14th, and it was at 26 degrees Virgo, which is so it was a little bit further ahead than we are this time. The time before that, we had it again in a pair in 2006 and 2005. So in 2006, we had it at 5 degrees Virgo, and in 2005, we had it at 16 degrees Virgo. So it's as if these two kind of ran in pairs within that year time frame. So I would say you can go back and look at 2005 and 2006 and kind of what was going on in your life at that time, because that is the last time we kind of had this really strong Virgo energy. And then also look at this last year, from October last year until now. What has shifted in the day-to-day routines? If it has been the same, my friend, especially in this last year one, and you're not where you would like to be, that's a clear indication that there is something that needs to change. There is something that you're connected to that we want to release. Okay. And if you go back to 2005 and 2006 and look at what was happening during that time, what was going on during that time in your day-to-day routine, in your health, in the way you were to serve, the way you were in service to others, and what has transpired in these past years that has, I want like look at how you have shifted, how you have grown, what opportunities have been created for you in the work that you've been doing these past years. And also, let's also look at how they are affecting you now. And are there still some things that you are connected to from way back then that you're ready to say goodbye to now? Okay, let's keep on with our Mercury. As I mentioned, we do have Mercury with that conjunction over here to the sun. So that Mercury conjunct the sun. And give me 1 second. For some reason, my screen had frozen for a second. So we are back. Mercury and the opposition here to Chiron is going to come up at the end of the week. So I want to show you that one. And we also have, because earlier we talked about the sun being square Mars, and now we have this conjunction with Mars. So we do have this here, Mercury square Mars. And so as we earlier talked about that collective energy with the sun, that very conscious energy, that conscious thinking, when we look at Mars and Mercury, we're looking at our thinking, we're looking how we're processing information, how we're communicating. And so there is a high chance here also of saying things, creating conflicts, jumping to conclusions, making rushed decisions. And so it's really important to make sure that we are taking a beat, that we are taking a pause right before we say something, allowing the awareness to come through before we immediately react to something and we choose to respond to something instead. So if you feel like that, there's also this hurriedness energy kind of happening in between here. So I want to just also kind of put this in here for you as well, because you could also be feeling that even amplified even more over this next week, all the way through to October 10th. So this Mars square Mercury is adding this in just this period here, even though the square to Mars is going to continue on for the rest of the month. This is really kind of amping things up right in here. Now, let's talk about this opposition over here to Chiron that comes in on the 5th. So we have the opposition to Chiron, and we have this trine over here to Jupiter that also comes in on the 5th. So let's start with Chiron and then we'll move into Mercury, into Jupiter. So with Chiron, remember, Chiron is our deepest wounds. It's where we might struggle the most with wounds from the past. And so our mindset, our thinking are not necessarily aligned with our past. And so there might be a bit of a struggle. And because Chiron is in Pisces, even more so, there might be a struggle to make sense of some of these past wounds. And we're challenged often when we're doing healing work to see things from a different perspective. When I talk about healing and when I do healing with my clients, we're looking to shift the energy around that past experience. We're not there to get rid of it. We're not there to say it didn't exist. We're not there to stay in the victimhoodness of it. We're there to shift into a more empowering place with it. And so this energy right here, there could be a struggle to see that. And so there might be more negative thinking around your past experience, or you may need, or should I say that I'm going to say this different, because it's not necessarily the need, but there may be an approach that may need to shift. And when I say that is sometimes we want others to validate our own messages, right? There are often times where I'll tell a client something and they'll say, "Yeah, I've been feeling that." And it's almost as if I'm validating that the thing that they received is valid, and that's not the case necessarily. Y- You like it does feel good when, I'll even say from myself, right? When I say something and they're like, "Yeah, I've really been that's what I've been feeling." And it's like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was spot on there, right?" But then also for them, right? It's like they're needing to receive these messages. And I'm going to say that spirit, source, God, creator, whatever you believe, your spirit team, they are validating these messages for you. And so having that clear channel to connect in and to allow yourself to be guided to have the confirmation, that's where you want to confirm with, not necessarily other people, although I understand that. I'm gonna invite you to allow yourself to be validated through source, through creation. Okay, let's move into this Mercury trine Jupiter, because this is a really, really a nice aspect here that comes in on October 5th through the 11th. And so we've got Jupiter is so optimistic. It's like it always brings good news. Again, every time I say this, reminds me of the movie The Wiz. I was a big fan of The Wiz growing up as a kid. I did not watch The Wizard of Oz. I actually watched The Wiz. And there's a song in there where they sing about, she says, ain't nobody bring me no bad news. Well, this is the exact opposite here with Jupiter and bringing the good news. This is the positivity here. So this is positive thinking. We're making plans, we're organizing, we're cleaning things up, we're wanting to set off on a journey. Now, whether that journey is actually traveling or not doesn't matter, because we're here to expand our horizons. We're here to expand the perspective, expand the knowledge, expand the knowing. And so this is a really good time to, again, allow yourself to expand in ways that maybe you hadn't considered yet. And so I'll invite you to come over to that Magic Monday that we did this week on September 30th, where we breathed into expansion. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about Mars. So we talked about Mars and Mercury, but let's talk about Mars and Chiron, because Mars and Chiron are making a square here, as you can see. And that does come in on the 2nd of October, all the way through the 25th. So when earlier we talked about might be a little bit confusing with understanding the deeper messages of our wounds, or shifting the energy or perspective around it, there's a heightened energy here with any wounds that have been left, that we haven't dealt with, that we haven't healed, kind of like those unhealed wounds, so to speak. And so there's some motivation, some action that's wanting to work on some of those things, release some of those things, uncover some things around what has caused us some trauma in the past. And even to the point where our spirit is like, hey, aspect of us that is stuck over there, and we need to unstuck them, right? We need to unfreeze them, we need to release them, so that we can move forward, right? That's one of the beautiful things of healing, is that we get to release the aspects of ourselves, right, that may be stuck in a past experience, so that we can experience the now. Oftentimes when people tell me that they can't focus, they can't be present, it's often because there's a bunch of different aspects of them that are stuck in other places. And so we just need to call them all back, right, and release them. any of them that are stuck. And so we can harness this energy for deeper healing. And I'm going to say past the 11th, we can get into a little bit more deeper healing, although there still might be a bit of a struggle here. And so I want to tell you that, especially for those of you that work in this realm, that work with helping people move through past traumas or past wounds, there could be some frustration here because it's not quite clicking, or it's not quite wanting to move, and there's just some deeper work that needs to be done, or just time, simply time. I think sometimes we get caught up in wanting to heal and wanting to heal and wanting to heal, wanting to work on this and work on that, and sometimes we just need some space. And so allow yourself to just take some space. All right, last but not least, I almost forgot about Venus, but we're going to take a look at Venus right here on the 30th. She connects here with Saturn in a trine. And so Saturn and Venus, it's that commitment and stability energy. So this is a really nice energy for long-term commitments, relationships, things of stability and sensibility. This is also very practical energy here because of Saturn. So any type of creative work um, is highly favored during this time. Existing relationships can have a deeper bonding or feeling deeper security or stability in the relationship. If things have been kind of crazy, we could see some, movement towards that more mutual respect, more practicality when it comes to relationships, and really like kind of putting things down and setting some really good roots in that. Business is also favored during this time, investments, things of that nature as well. All right, my friend, that has been your Sidereal Astrology Forecast for the week of September 30th through October 6th. As I mentioned before, I would love to invite you to come join us in the 22-day somatic breathwork challenge, Breathe with Danny. It's held on a private podcast, so you can join at any time. We are currently on day 9, but you can join at any time. As a matter of fact, it is created so that you can kind of do it on your own. And so you don't have to go on social media. There is nothing else to do but just simply breathe with me. So if you would like more information on that, you can go to thepeaceteacher.com/breathe, thepeaceteacher.com/breathe. You can find that information down in our show notes and in the description box. Plus, we've got so many events coming up in this next month, so look out for those. You can get more information on all the events, like our new moon circle, our sacred CEO circle. We've got a full moon somatic breath work happening this month, where we're going to be working with our ancestors and doing some ancestral healing on the 30th, when the veil thins, or as it's thinning. It's already starting to thin, as a matter of fact, but as it gets to a really thin place, we're going to do some ancestral healing. And so I'm super excited for that experience. So all of that and more you can find over on thepeaceteacher.com/events, and I'll make sure all of that is down below for you. And don't forget, we always have our monthly guidebook that's got all the things you need to know about Virgo season. There's a ritual in there for your throat chakra, and there's also some weekly affirmations and journal prompts to help you deepen your understanding of yourself through this Virgo season. All right, my friend, that is it for us today. Be sure to follow the podcast and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another episode. All right, my friend, enjoy your day and take a deep breath with me and let it go. And find peace in the chaos. Bye.